Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, on Roku, Dwyer Sports Betting. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's briefly talk about All Access, Showtime's promotional show, episode number 1, for the upcoming Mayweather versus Guerrero fight. There are a couple of sentences in the show that grabbed me as someone hoping to gamble on this fight. The first is Robert Guerrero, a 5.5 to 1 underdog in most books. And he says Floyd knows that his legs aren't what they were. Right? He says that Floyd knows that his legs are slowing down. Let me just say, I'm one of those who agrees with Robert Guerrero. I think this Mayweather loses to Mayweather of, let's say, 5 years ago. Right? I think the key to this fight are Mayweather's legs. Right? I think Guerrero, to make Mayweather's legs matter, needs to fight a different fight than the fights that Ricky Hatton, Victor Ortiz, Miguel Cotto fought. In other words, don't allow Mayweather to stay on the side of the ring, up on the ropes, stationary. Force Mayweather to come find you. The other eye-opening part of All Access is when Mayweather imitates Robert Guerrero. He has some sidekick there, and Mayweather's all up on the sidekick, fighting like Guerrero fought against Andre Berto and Sal Calcaden. In other words, Mayweather feels that Guerrero is going to try to come and overwhelm him. In fact, in probably the best line of the entire episode, Mayweather says that the game plan against him is always to have the other fighter come and try to overwhelm him. Right? So, I believe this is a tip-off to what the guys are thinking. I think Mayweather thinks that Guerrero is going to come in and try to impose his size on him. And make no mistake, Robert Guerrero, even though he's fought most of his career below 147, is actually the bigger man. We know that from the mandated 30-day weights. Right? The sanctioning body requires the fighters to weigh in 30 days before a fight. Guerrero actually weighed in at 159, 12 pounds above 147. Here's what I think is going to happen. I actually think, as a gambler, I have to put money down on Guerrero at 5.5 to 1 because I think this is a pick'em fight. I think Guerrero has a great jab. And I think Guerrero, with that jab, can actually keep the fight in the middle of the ring. The question is which Guerrero shows up. If it's the Guerrero against Andre Berto, he probably loses. Right? I don't believe you can smother Floyd Mayweather. But if it's the Guerrero who beat people like Michael Casitas, I think he wins. Because in the middle of the ring, quite frankly, Guerrero has too much going for him. Right? He's a southpaw. In other words, he's not Juan Manuel Marquez. Right? He's not going to get caught by Floyd's lead left hook. Understand the way it lines up. Guerrero's going to be too far away from Floyd for that to happen. Right? Presumably, Guerrero's going to be pumping a right jab. That's essential for him. If he can pump the right jab and create distance, he doesn't have to worry about Floyd's left hook. Floyd's actually going to have to fight the guy. Not only that, I think longtime viewers of Floyd know that Floyd had a problem with Zab Judah. Right? Zab Judah actually knocked Floyd down early. I think Floyd, quite frankly, has a problem with lefties. Right? So, I believe that Guerrero, quite frankly, is a live underdog. Longtime viewers know I don't care that the casino has him a 5.5 to 1 underdog. Casinos make mistakes, right? They do all the time. So my point is simply, Robert Guerrero has the boxing skills. He knows how to use length. He knows how to pump a left jab. He knows how to stay busy and outwork his opponent. I believe that Robert Guerrero is a live underdog in this fight. The bet I'm recommending here is Guerrero to win, hedged against the over. Now let me be clear here. I don't know who's going to win the fight. I'm not saying Guerrero is going to actually be declared the winner. What I'm telling you is this fight's going to be close. You want your money on Guerrero because he's a plus 550. And I don't believe Floyd Mayweather is going to be able to knock out Guerrero. Certainly not early. So I like Guerrero to win. So you're getting all that leverage hedged against the over. If Floyd wins a decision, you're covered. If Guerrero wins, whether it's by decision or knockout, you're winning a bounty. If Guerrero wins by decision or late knockout on the over, you're winning a bonanza. Let me say a few other things about All Access that really does warrant being said, right? And let me warn people now. I'm about to make some social commentary. If you're just looking for boxing picks, now's the time to stop the video. Okay, let me say this. Boxing is multi-racial. In fact, it's even bigger than that. It's multicultural. So for years, we've been watching these shows, 24/7 and these other shows, where the narrator always sounds Anglo, right? Always sounds like he's some white guy talking the Queen's English. It's actually a bit interesting here, in a multiracial sport, to actually get a pre-fight video where the announcer actually sounds like he's African American. In fact, it's common, the rapper who does the narrating. It's actually a breakthrough. Let me just say this, in a sport as multicultural as boxing, let's hope we actually get some of these, where we actually have someone who sounds Latino actually narrate the show in English, right? Or someone who comes from, let's say, a Russian background, a Ukrainian background, actually narrate a pre-fight video involving someone who is from a Ukrainian or Russian background, right? The point is this. Let's not accept some paradigm where we're always hearing the same dialect from the same culture in every pre-fight video, right? The sport of boxing is just too diverse for that. Let me also point out too, here in the United States, everyone's getting hot and bothered over the movie 42, the Jackie Robinson story. Understand, Jackie Robinson broke into the big leagues in 1947, right? Almost 40 years before that, Jack Johnson became the first black heavyweight champion, right? Boxing fans know our sport has been much more multicultural than these other sports, right? Jackie Robinson, quite frankly, didn't become a major leaguer until well after Joe Louis's prime, right? And so, just food for thought, people need to consider that as they consider the sport. I think it's a nice step forward that All Access actually has some dialect other than, a Caucasian dialect speaking the Queen's English. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this really goes out to young guys who are looking at, the show, seeing Floyd Mayweather surrounded by an entourage who is laughing at every joke he says. He looks like he's Mr. Popularity. As fighters know, all you have to do is look at some interviews of fighters who suffered losses, like David Haye, for example, right? We're talking about elite fighters who have suffered career setbacks. As fighters know, if you lose a fight, you lose half your entourage, right? Understand all that fame in All Access is temporary, right? Whether it's Chad Dawson, whether it's David Haye, whether it's Muhammad Ali, many fighters have commented about how they lost the fight and suddenly they found out who their friends were. Right? Suddenly, those guys who were rolling hard with you, spending your money, staying at your hotel during press conferences, eating your food at buffets, at restaurants, standing next to you being photographed at the club, half of those guys are going to vanish. Right? Floyd Mayweather right now looks like he's the mayor of Grand Rapids in the video. I believe Floyd Mayweather is a very smart man and knows that if he loses 2 fights, he's only going to have a quarter of his entourage. Understand, fame is fleeting, right? When you see these videos, don't think in terms of, oh, he made it. Like making it suddenly has you crossing the bridge and forever being popular. That's not the way it goes. I guarantee you Ricky Hatton today has a far smaller entourage than he did when he had a belt around his waist. What makes Mayweather compelling is the fact that I believe Mayweather knows it. Right? As Mayweather goes around, and Mayweather is very revealing, right? He's in front of his mother's house for part of All Access. He's in front of the gym where he got his start and stuff like that. A gym that's been closed for years. Right? I believe Mayweather understands that he's a guy from a humble background, more humble than people realize, because I think people view him as Floyd Mayweather Sr.'s son, and they don't realize that to pay bills, Mayweather Sr. actually had to cut corners in a way that landed him in prison. Right? I don't think people realize that Floyd was a young man who was just like many other young men in the hood looking for direction when he was a teenager. Right? Floyd himself tells you that guys he hung with ended up in the game, and I don't mean boxing. Right? And so I believe Floyd Mayweather is in a unique position in that he knows his beginnings are more humble than the public does. Right? I believe Floyd also realizes, in part because of his feuds with people close to him like his father, right, that many of the people around him, and keep in mind, Floyd's had a problem with promoters, well-known promoters, and with managers, well-known managers, right? Floyd's changed both. I believe Floyd understands that it's all a bit of an illusion, right? Even he and his boy, 50 Cent, are no longer boys, right? I believe Mayweather knows better than most that the image being portrayed on All Access is a bit of an illusion. Right? Let me also say this about Robert Guerrero. You know what? First, let me say, Guerrero's from Gilroy. I'm making this video from San Jose. Gilroy's awfully close to San Jose. Right? Where I live, Guerrero's a bit of a hometown son. Right? People love him here. Understand, the Bay Area is rapidly becoming a boxing hotbed, right? You have Nonito Donaire here. You have Andre Ward here. You have Virgil Hunter, the trainer here. And Virgil Hunter has brought in world-class talent like Amir Khan, like Andre Berto, right? But here, Robert Guerrero really does sell a lot of tickets. He really is widely viewed as a nice guy, a gentleman who's in the fight game. What I want you to do, though, is as you watch how this show, which actually shows you Guerrero meeting with Pat Robertson on the 700 Club, talking about God, what I want you to do is to watch this show and watch Floyd Mayweather's interaction with his daughter. His daughter at one point wants to go to a Rihanna concert. Mayweather who has been known to say adult words every now and then, even in these 24/7 or all access videos, actually says on camera, hey, Rihanna might be rated R a bit too much for you, to his daughter. Right? Understand, these guys are basically the same guy. Right? Mayweather's actually, really, in my opinion, first and foremost, a family man. A father who loves his kids. That's really what he's about. Understand, when you see Mayweather out at clubs or Mayweather handing out $100 bills, understand that, like Bernard Hopkins, Mayweather doesn't drink. Right? Quite frankly, let's just call it what it is. Mayweather also doesn't take guns to airports like Robert Guerrero does. So don't get too caught up in this myth making, this mythology, this good guy versus bad guy. These guys are trying to sell tickets. At the end of the day, both guys love their women. Both guys love their kids. Both guys are family men, right? Mayweather really, is a father as much as he is a boxer. Right? And so don't get too caught up in the image. Understand, both of these guys, when they cut, bleed red blood. Right? They're both the same guy. There's not much difference between them. In some ways, quite frankly, Guerrero, and I know he's soft-spoken, but in some ways, Guerrero is even more of a gangster than Floyd Mayweather when it comes to doing things like carrying firearms around in the state of New York. Anyway, let me know what you think. Hope I didn't get too social. Well, you know what? You decide if I've been too social, right? The comments I make here in this video, they're heartfelt, right? Quite frankly, I was thrilled to hear Common narrate the show, right? I don't want to sound too racial, but at the same time, unfortunately, the situation's racial when every one of these is always narrated by, a dialect that's not black or not Latino or not Asian. And understand, this is boxing. You have blacks, Latinos, and Asians in the sport. So it is a breakthrough, in my opinion, to actually recognize that this is boxing. Boxing's multicultural and multi-ethnic. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. I'll tell you what, I'm putting my money on Guerrero. Right before fight night, I'm going to try to hedge the play with the over. Let me hear how you're betting the fight. Thanks for watching.